Yo guys, it's IFM here, bringing you more coverage of Smogon's World Cup of Pokemon. We have a great match for you today. We have Steeljackal, aka Steel Skitty, of Team USA East versus McMeghan, playing some black and white OU. And just to give you a little bit of background on this match, East has a 2-0 lead right now as the 8th seed against the 1st seed France in the quarterfinals. And this is a matchup that's happened many times in the past in the playoffs of the World Cup of Pokemon, and there's a lot of bad blood between the two teams, and both teams are really wanting to get the win here because it would just be massive for the team morales, obviously, overall, because right now, with the 2-0 lead for East, a 3-0 lead would be absolutely devastating for France, and you also have just a huge player advantage on France's side. Steeljackal, to most players, is known primarily as an Ubers player. He's not really known at all as a black and white player. And it's going to be very difficult for him to pull off the victory over McMeghan. I think pretty much every single person in the thread for this round predicted McMeghan to win. McMeghan, obviously one of the all-time greats of competitive Pokemon, winning multiple tournaments, always just an amazing player. So, you have a pretty standard, sand team from McMeghan. Same really for Steeljackal, so it's going to really just come down to player quality. So, right off the bat, you're wondering, hey, does this Steeljackal guy really have what it takes to take down the great McMeghan? So, we're just going to jump into this matchup. And as you can see, Steeljackal is going to lead with that Mew. And Mew's going to do a lot of work against McMeghan's team. It can just will-o-wisp a ton of shit on his team, as you can see right off. It goes for the Will-O-Wisp on the Jellicent, maybe risking a Toxic a tiny bit, but now he's just going to go for the Scald. No burn there, no Kevin Cronin on that. So with that burn damage up, the Jellicent's going to it's going to wear down significantly over the course of this matchup. So Steeljackal decides that Latios is a pretty safe switch in to this Jellicent. It does get the Scald burn once again, so right now we're 1 out of 2 on the Kevin Cronins. And that Scald burn is going to be very key because it's going to make it a lot easier for Tyranitar to deal with the Latios as well as the Alakazam, stuff like that. And it's just going to wear down over the course of this matchup. So Steeljackal makes a great prediction here. Doesn't think that the Jellicent's going to be staying in and sends in his Keldeo against the Skarmory. And Keldeo just has a massive advantage, but it's going to go for the Hidden Power Electric. And that is huge damage on the Skarmory. Like, absolutely massive. Normally it does not do anything close to 86%, so you can definitely tell it's a Custap Skarm. So Steeljackal does not want to risk the Keldeo right now because it's going to do a lot of work against McMeghan's team. So instead he's just going to send in the Mew on that Skarmory as the spikes come up with that Custap Berry. There was really no way to prevent the hazards if McMeghan did decide to go for it, though obviously a Brave Bird would have been great for East. So, Mew is just going to continue doing what Mew does best. Taunts the Jellicent, prevents any kind of recovery from it, so it's just going to keep taking that chip damage from the burn down to 75% health right now. So, a couple more turns of that, it's going to be great for Steeljackal. But we're going to see the double switch from McMeghan right here. He's going to send in his Tyranitar as Mew goes for the Psychic to get even more damage in on that Jellicent, open things up a little bit more for the Keldeo, and that's a great prediction from McMeghan. And we're thinking this might be something like a Scarftar because you have seen the rocks come in from the Skarmory, so it's not going to be reliant on the Tyranitar for the rocks. And, Alakazam's going to be coming in on the Will-O-Wisp. Obviously, with that Magic Guard, not going to care at all about that. And now Steeljackal really has to play around this Alakazam. He switches into his Tyranitar, Tarantula, and it's just going to take a Shadow Ball from the Alakazam, doing 6% damage. As you can tell from that damage, it's definitely a very heavily EV'd on the Spadef side, only taking 34%-ish from that Focus Blast, thanks to the Chople Berry. So he's going to be able to get the Pursuit off, do some big damage to that Alakazam, take it down to 14% health. And another key thing about this match is, especially if that's HP Ice Alakazam on Steeljackal's side, it's going to do huge work against McMeghan. And he can just switch in his Alakazam right there on the opposing Alakazam, most likely indicating that it is going to be a Focus Sash Alakazam making that play. Goes for the Psychic to hit potential switch-ins like the Skarmory or the Breloom harder, but instead just goes to the Tyranitar, eats the Psychic, quite easily, and the Focus Blast is going to come out and only do about 46% damage, so we see that this is not the Scarf Tar set, because you're switching it into an Alakazam, still outsped by the Alakazam, and it lands the first Focus Blast, and now it's just going to go for another on that Skarmory switch-in. Going to take it down, though obviously that Skarmory is not going to be doing a whole lot the rest of this match, as it can't really set up hazards on anything else besides the opposing Skarmory for Steeljackal. And now Breloom's going to come in, and it's going to be a bit of an issue, and it's just going to go for the Mach Punch right here. As you can see, it's going to be the Fighting Gem. Going to do huge damage to that Latios. Going to take a little bit of sand damage by itself as well. And the Latios is going to be taken down to 11% HP. So even a non-Fighting Gem's Mach Punch is going to do the exact same. Going to kill that. And now the Latios is down, and Steeljackal is facing a 4-5 disadvantage. Though he does have the benefit of the Alakazam and the Keldeo that are going to still do huge work to McMeghan's team, especially if it's something like the HP Ice on the Alakazam. So Mew comes in, forces the Breloom out, and it's going to give McMeghan a chance to switch in the Tar for, like, I think pretty much the second or third time on a Psychic. Doing a great job with these mid-game predictions, really reading Steeljackal like a book. And it's going to go for the double switch into the Alakazam to get even more pressure, as Steeljackal just goes for the Will-O-Wisp here, trying to get the burn on the Tyranitar, because otherwise it would die to a crunch. And this is looking not so great for Steeljackal, because, like, what does he have to deal with this Alakazam? And he just decides to take a Shadow Ball with the Mew, not going to kill, and he's going to take the Revenge Kill off with that Psychic, and it's going to take the Alakazam down, and evens the game up at 4-4, but the issue is this Mew is pretty much dead in the water, as it can't switch in again due to hazard, so he doesn't have a ton of options here except to just sack it to the Gliscor, and you're going to see the Earthquake fired off from the Gliscor, and Steeljackal is down 3-4, facing a massive amount of hazards on his side of the board. And another key point here is you did not see the Toxic Orb go off in the Gliscor, so you know that it is actually going to be the Acrobatic set. And Steeljackal realizes that, knows that Skarmory is going to be able to set up massive amounts of layers of spikes on McMeghan right now, so he sets up one layer as the Tar switches in, and he's going to get a second layer up as the Tar does go for the Fire Blast and connects. So that's 2 layers of spikes up on McMeghan's side, and that's going to be doing a lot of work, considering that Breloom does not have any type of recovery without a Toxic Orb, and the Jellicent is burned right now, so this Keldeo is a pretty huge threat, though he is down 4-2 right now on the board. Goes for the Secret Sword on the Tyranitar. And right now, it's looking like it's a pretty safe switch into Gliscor, because what if this is something like a Choice Scarf Keldeo, which is pretty likely considering Steeljackal's team. So he just sends in the Gliscor, and you see the moveset change. You see the Icy Wind, and that's going to take the Gliscor down, even the matchup up at 2-2. So this is the HP Ice, Icy Wind, Secret Sword, probably a water move, Keldeo, which just fucks up everything on McMeghan's team, does massive damage here, and now he's just going to switch into Jellicent, trying to threaten it with something like a Scald Burn, or just try to recover loop off of those HP Electrics, because they're not going to be doing 50% damage to it. And in comes the Alakazam, and on the recover right there, if that had been a Scald from McMeghan, that could have been huge damage, because you could get the Scald and damage and other damage on the Keldeo, kill it with a Mach Punch. And there's a great prediction here from Steeljackal. Goes for the Psychic once again, absolutely fucking McMeghan in the late game with these surprise moves. He was probably predicting a Shadow Ball there to just get the damage in on the Jellicent, which would not kill a Breloom, so makes it a pretty safe switch in, and goes for one more Shadow Ball on the Jellicent with a Spadef drop. Not going to really matter too much in the long run. Goes for a recover right here. It's really just a matter of time before the combination of Alakazam and Keldeo finished it off. Just great endgame play from Steeljackal. He had the perfect sets to deal with McMeghan's team. One more Shadow Ball, gonna get fired out by the Alakazam. Gonna take it down, though. Alakazam is gonna die in revenge to the Scald. But a combination of the Sand and the Burns gonna kill the Jellicent right here. Not long for the world. And East takes a huge 3-0 lead over France in the World Cup of Pokemon, proving once again that the French have nothing on US East. And it's just going to come down to the games tomorrow and Monday to see if they can mount a comeback, or if East is going to make their 4th straight semifinals, making the finals, and those previous 3 appearances. Right now, they are the juggernaut of World Cup of Pokemon, and every team wants to try to have their number. And right now, East has France's number, and it's really up to them to try to reverse things tomorrow, or East is going to walk away with this series, jumping out to the quick 3-0 lead. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode in my series on Smogon's World Cup of Pokemon for IFM. I'm out of here. Make sure to like and subscribe, though. That'd be nice.